It was an ordinary Wednesday morning in March 2026. People were going about their lives, heading to work, sipping coffee, scrolling through their phones. No one expected the sky to change, but it did. Suddenly, massive ships appeared out of nowhere, hovering silently above major cities across the globe. These weren't planes or satellites. They were enormous, sleek, and glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. Humanity froze. Was this real? Was it a dream? Or something worse? And the ships didn't attack. They didn't speak at first either. For hours they just floated there, casting shadows over bustling streets and quiet neighborhoods. Governments scrambled to respond, but no one knew what to do. Military forces stood ready, weapons aimed upward, but nothing happened. Then, just as panic began to spread, a voice echoed, not from speakers or radios, but directly inside people's minds. "We are the Valeth," the voice said calmly, yet with an authority that made everyone stop what they were doing. "We come not to harm you, but to guide you. Your species is on the brink of collapse. If left unchecked, your actions will destroy your home and yourselves." People looked around confused. Some thought it was a prank. Others prayed it wasn't true. But deep down, everyone felt the same thing. Fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of losing control. And maybe even fear of being told they'd messed up so badly that aliens had to step in. And the Valeth continued explaining their plan. They wanted to take charge of Earth's future, not by force, they claimed, but by helping humanity make better decisions. They promised solutions to climate change, poverty, war, all the problems humans had failed to fix themselves. In exchange, they demanded one thing: complete trust, complete obedience. At first, reactions were mixed. Some countries welcomed the idea. Leaders saw it as a chance to finally bring peace and prosperity to their nations. Why struggle when someone else could do the hard work for them? Others hesitated, wary of handing over power to beings they didn't understand. Protests erupted in cities worldwide. People held signs reading, "Earth belongs to us," and "No alien dictatorship." Amid all the chaos, one person stood out, not because they were famous or powerful, but because they couldn't stay silent. This individual lived a simple life, working as a teacher in a small town. When news of the Valeth broke, they watched the events unfold with growing unease. Something about the situation didn't sit right. Sure, the aliens sounded reasonable, but how could anyone really know their intentions? This person started asking questions. At first, it was just casual conversations with friends and neighbors. "Do we really want to give up our freedom?" they'd ask. "What if they're lying?" Slowly, those questions gained traction. Word spread online, sparking debates and discussions, where people began to wonder, were the Valeth truly here to help, or was there more to their story? Meanwhile, strange things started happening. Technology advanced overnight in areas under Valeth control. Crops grew faster, diseases disappeared. It seemed like miracles were unfolding before everyone's eyes. Yet behind the scenes, cracks began to show. Reports surfaced of people disappearing in regions where the aliens had taken charge. Whispers of surveillance and manipulation spread. And for the teacher, these stories confirmed their worst fears. They decided to dig deeper, using whatever resources they could find. Late at night, after grading papers and preparing lessons, They scoured the internet for clues. They reached out to scientists, activists, and anyone willing to listen. Piece by piece, a darker picture emerged. But convincing others wasn't easy. Many dismissed the warnings as paranoia. After all, the Valith had brought undeniable benefits. Who wouldn't want cleaner air, healthier food, and safer streets? Still, the teacher refused to give up. Deep down, they believed humanity deserved a choice, a real choice, not one dictated by outsiders. As days turned into weeks, tensions rose. Governments argued among themselves. Families divided over whether to trust the aliens. And somewhere in the middle of it all, the teacher kept pushing forward, driven by a growing sense of responsibility. Little did they know, and their actions would soon spark a movement that would change the course of history. By the end of part 1, the stage is set. The aliens have arrived, offering salvation, but at what cost? Humanity stands divided, unsure of whom to believe, and one ordinary person has taken the first steps toward uncovering the truth, setting off a chain of events that will challenge everything they thought they knew about themselves and their place in the universe. Weeks passed since the Valith's arrival, and an Earth began to feel like two separate worlds. In regions where governments had accepted the aliens' guidance, life seemed almost perfect. Crops grew faster than ever before, diseases vanished, and cities gleamed with futuristic technology. People marveled at how smoothly everything worked under the Valith's control. Streets were cleaner, economies thrived, and conflicts faded away. At first glance, it looked like a dream come true. But dreams often have a dark side, and then this one was no exception. Beneath the surface of progress, cracks began to show. People noticed they weren't as free as they used to be. Cameras watched every move. Conversations felt monitored, even in private spaces. If someone spoke out against the Valith or questioned their methods, they'd vanish, just like that. No explanation, no trace. Families searched for answers but found only silence. In contrast, areas that resisted the Valith faced a different kind of struggle. Without access to the aliens' advanced technology, these regions fell into chaos. Factories shut down, food shortages became common, protests erupted daily, fueled by anger and desperation. Some leaders tried to negotiate with the Valith, hoping to strike a compromise, but the aliens showed little interest. Their message remained clear: submit or suffer. The divide between the two sides grew deeper with each passing day. Families argued over dinner tables. My friends stopped talking to one another. Social media exploded with heated debates. Supporters of the Valith praised them as saviors, while opponents accused them of manipulation and control. It wasn't just about politics anymore. It was personal. Amidst the turmoil, the teacher from the small town continued their quiet fight. They traveled to nearby cities, speaking with anyone who would listen. Farmers shared stories of strange devices planted in their fields, and claiming the Valith were experimenting on crops. Engineers described machines that seemed too advanced to be safe, hinting at hidden dangers. Piece by piece, the teacher gathered evidence, determined to expose the truth. One evening, after hours of research, something caught their attention. A series of encrypted files leaked online. The documents appeared to be internal communications from the Valith-controlled zones. Decoding them took time, but when the teacher finally succeeded, and what they discovered chilled them to the bone. The files revealed disturbing details about the so-called benefits provided by the Valith. Faster-growing crops? They were genetically modified to depend entirely on alien technology, making farmers unable to grow food without it. Disappearing diseases? The cure came with a price. People who received treatment reported feeling disconnected, as if part of their humanity had been stripped away. And those who vanished? According to the documents, and they were taken for re-education, though no one ever returned. Armed with this information, the teacher knew they had to act quickly, but spreading the word wouldn't be easy. Mainstream news outlets ignored their findings, dismissing them as conspiracy theories. Governments loyal to the Valith labeled them a threat, issuing warnings to steer clear. Undeterred, the teacher turned to underground networks, small groups of people scattered across the globe who also suspected the aliens weren't as benevolent as they claimed. These groups had formed quietly, meeting in secret to share information and plan resistance efforts. At first, they were disorganized, unsure of how to fight back against such powerful opponents. But the teacher's arrival changed everything. With their evidence and determination, they inspired others to take action. Together, they began building a movement, one that would challenge the Valith's grip on Earth. Their first goal was simple yet crucial: raise awareness. Using hacked communication systems and the social media platforms, they started sharing the decrypted files. Videos surfaced showing empty villages where people had disappeared. Testimonies from former supporters of the Valith exposed the harsh realities of living under their rule. Slowly but surely, public opinion began to shift. Not everyone believed the warnings, of course. Many still clung to the idea that the Valith were here to help. After all, life in their controlled zones was undeniably better, at least on the surface. For every person who joined the resistance, there were dozens who dismissed it as fear-mongering. Despite the challenges, the movement gained momentum. Acts of defiance became more frequent. In one city, protesters marched through the streets holding banners that read, "T freedom over control." In another, hackers disrupted Valith surveillance systems, giving residents brief moments of privacy. Each victory, no matter how small, strengthened the resolve of those fighting back. Behind the scenes, the teacher played a key role in organizing these efforts. They didn't seek recognition or glory. Their focus was solely on protecting humanity's future. Yet as the resistance grew, so did the risks. The Valith weren't blind to what was happening, and their response came swiftly and chillingly. One night, as the teacher prepared for a meeting with fellow activists, their phone buzzed with an urgent message. A contact within a Valith-controlled zone had sent footage of something terrifying. Massive structures being built in remote locations. The video was grainy, but the shapes were unmistakable. Weapons. Advanced alien weapons designed to dominate, not defend. The realization hit hard. The Valith weren't just trying to guide humanity, they were preparing for war. By the end of Part 2, the stakes are higher than ever. Humanity stands fractured, torn between submission and rebellion. The teacher and their allies have uncovered alarming truths, but the battle is far from over. As tensions escalate, the question looms larger. Can humanity unite against a force that seems unstoppable, or will the divide prove too great to overcome? The resistance was growing, but so was the sense of urgency. Every day brought new challenges, new fears, and new questions. What were the Valith really planning? Why had they come to Earth? And most importantly, what would happen if humanity failed to stop them? These thoughts weighed heavily on the teacher's mind as they worked tirelessly alongside their allies. It was during one of their late-night meetings that a breakthrough occurred, when a member of the group, an engineer who had once worked in a Valith-controlled zone, shared something startling. They had managed to smuggle out a piece of alien technology disguised as an ordinary device. At first glance, it looked harmless enough. A small metallic cube, no bigger than a fist. But when activated, it projected holographic images onto the wall. The room fell silent as the group gathered around. The images showed blueprints, diagrams, and maps, details too complex for anyone to fully understand at first glance. But one thing became clear almost immediately. The Valith weren't here to help humanity thrive. Their true purpose was far more sinister. "They're planning to terraform Earth," the engineer whispered, pointing to a section of the blueprint. "Look at this. These designs are for machines that can alter the atmosphere, change the soil composition, even shift tectonic plates. They're not just trying to control us, they're remaking the planet to suit themselves." The teacher felt a chill run down their spine. Terraforming meant transforming Earth into a place where humans might not be able to survive. It wasn't about guidance or salvation. It was about erasing humanity altogether. But there was more. Another part of the blueprint revealed something even worse. A massive device labeled Genetic Rewriting Core. According to the notes accompanying the design, this machine could rewrite human DNA en masse. Its purpose? To turn humans into something else, something less independent, less resistant, something easier to control. The implications were horrifying. If the Valith succeeded, humanity wouldn't just lose its freedom, it would lose its very identity. People wouldn't be people anymore. They'd become tools, slaves to an alien agenda. Armed with this knowledge, the resistance knew they had to act fast. But how could they convince the rest of the world? Most people still believed the Valith were benevolent saviors. Even those living under their rule saw only the benefits: cleaner air, better health care, safer streets. Few realized the cost until it was too late. The teacher proposed a bold plan: expose the truth on a global scale. Using the decrypted files, the leaked blueprints, and first-hand accounts from defectors, they would create a message impossible to ignore. Videos, documents, and testimonies would be broadcast across every available platform: social media, news outlets, even hacked Valith communication systems. It wouldn't be easy. The Valith monitored everything, and their technology was far beyond anything humanity possessed. Getting the message out required careful planning and absolute secrecy. Members of the resistance risked their lives to distribute the information, knowing full well the consequences if they were caught. Finally, the day came, and under the cover of darkness, The resistance launched their campaign. Screens flickered to life worldwide, displaying footage of empty villages, abandoned factories, and eerie alien structures under construction. Voices spoke over the images, telling stories of loved ones who had vanished, crops that refused to grow without alien interference, and lives stripped of autonomy. At the heart of the broadcast was the genetic rewriting core. The resistance showed the blueprints, explained its function, and warned of its potential to destroy humanity as it existed. For the first time, people saw the aliens not as saviors, but as invaders with a hidden agenda. Reactions varied wildly. In some places, outrage erupted instantly. Crowds took to the streets, demanding answers from their leaders. Others remained skeptical, accusing the resistance of fabricating evidence to incite panic. Still, the seed of doubt had been planted. Questions spread like wildfire. Were the Valith truly helping or preparing to replace us? The Valith responded with unsettling calmness. Through the same mental voice that had announced their arrival, they addressed the accusations. "Your species misunderstands our intentions," they said. "We seek only to ensure your survival. Without our intervention, you will perish." Their words did little to quell the growing unrest. Instead, they fueled further defiance. Protesters began targeting Valith installations, sabotaging equipment and destroying surveillance devices. Acts of rebellion multiplied, spreading like ripples across a pond. For the teacher, the movement's success brought both hope and fear. On one hand, they were proud to see humanity standing up for itself. On the other, they couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. The Valith hadn't retaliated. Not yet, but everyone knew it was only a matter of time. Then came the moment that changed everything. While investigating a remote location marked on the leaked blueprints, a team of resistance members stumbled upon something extraordinary: the wreckage of a crashed Valith ship. It had gone down weeks earlier, unnoticed by authorities thanks to its isolated position. Inside, they found troves of data, logs, schematics, and recordings detailing the aliens' long-term plans. And among the discoveries was a chilling revelation. The Valith didn't view humans as equals, or even as sentient beings. To them, humanity was a resource, a means to an end. Their ultimate goal wasn't coexistence, it was domination. With this new evidence, the resistance prepared to strike back harder than ever before. They devised a daring plan to infiltrate a central Valith command hub, a fortress-like structure located in the heart of a major city. Their objective was simple but perilous: destroy the genetic rewriting core before it could be activated. As the teacher stood before their fellow activists, outlining the mission, they felt a mix of determination and dread. This wasn't just about winning a battle. It was about saving the soul of humanity. Failure wasn't an option. By the end of Part 3, the stage is set for a final confrontation. Humanity has uncovered the Valith's true intentions, but the fight is far from over. And with courage and ingenuity, the resistance prepares to take on an enemy unlike any they've faced before. Will they succeed in stopping the aliens' plan? Or will Earth fall victim to forces beyond its control? The plan was risky, almost suicidal, but the resistance had no choice. Every day that passed brought the Valith closer to activating the genetic rewriting core. Once that machine came online, it would be too late. Humanity's DNA would be rewritten, erasing everything that made people unique: free will, creativity, individuality. They'd become nothing more than obedient tools for the aliens. The teacher stood in a dimly lit room, surrounded by a group of determined faces. These were ordinary people: farmers, mechanics, teachers, doctors, all united by one goal: to protect their species. None of them had military training or advanced weapons, but they had something the Valith didn't expect: sheer determination. "And we can't fight them head on," the teacher said, pointing to a crude map drawn on the wall. "Their technology is too advanced. We have to outsmart them." The map showed the layout of the Central Valith Command Hub, a towering structure located in the heart of a major city. It was heavily guarded, with drones patrolling the skies and automated defenses lining every entrance. Breaking in seemed impossible, but the resistance wasn't planning to break in. They were planning to sneak in. Over the past few days, they had studied the building carefully, gathering intel from defectors and analyzing patterns in the Valith's movements. They discovered a weakness. The aliens relied heavily on their technology, which meant their systems could be disrupted. If the resistance could hack into the command hub's network and disable key systems, even temporarily, they might have a chance. The mission required precision and teamwork. One team would focus on creating diversions, drawing the Valith's attention away from the main objective. Another would infiltrate the building through an underground maintenance tunnel, guided by blueprints smuggled out by a former engineer who had worked inside. A third team, led by the teacher, would make their way to the core itself and plant explosives. It wasn't just about destroying the machine. It was about sending a message. Humanity wouldn't go down without a fight. As the night of the operation approached, tensions ran high, and everyone knew the risks. If they were caught, there would be no mercy. The Valith didn't negotiate. They eliminated threats. Still, no one backed out. Each person understood what was at stake, not just their lives, but the future of their species. The operation began under the cover of darkness. The diversion team struck first, setting off explosions near the outskirts of the city. The blasts weren't large enough to cause serious damage, but they were loud and flashy, designed to grab attention. As the passage was narrow and damp, filled with a thick layer of dust and debris. The air was heavy with the scent of smoke and ash, and the sound of distant explosions echoed through the tunnel. The team moved cautiously, their footsteps echoing off the walls as they made their way deeper into the heart of the facility. The passage was narrow and damp, filled with the hum of machinery and the faint smell of oil. Progress was slow, but they pressed on, knowing time was running out. Inside the command hub, the air felt heavy, charged with electricity. The walls glowed faintly, pulsing with alien energy. And everything was eerily silent, except for the occasional whir of unseen mechanisms. The team moved cautiously, sticking to the shadows and avoiding detection. Reaching the core wasn't easy. The path was blocked by locked doors and security checkpoints. But the resistance had prepared for this. Using hacked devices and makeshift tools, they bypassed each obstacle, inching closer to their target. Finally, they reached the chamber housing the genetic rewriting core. And the teacher couldn't help but feel a mix. The teacher couldn't help but feel a mix of awe and dread. This machine represented the Valith's ultimate power and humanity's greatest threat. Working quickly, the team planted explosives around the base of the core. They set timers, ensuring they'd have enough time to escape before detonation. But as they finished, 8 alarms blared throughout the facility. "They know we're here," someone hissed. Panic threatened to take over, but the teacher kept their composure. "Stick to the plan," they said firmly. "We've come this far. We're not stopping now." The group retraced their steps, moving faster than before. Behind them, the sound of approaching drones grew louder. Lights flashed in the corridors, illuminating their path and exposing their position. At one point, they were cornered. A squad of Valith enforcers blocked their exit, their sleek, insect-like forms radiating menace. For a moment, it seemed like the end. But then one of the team members, an ex-soldier, stepped forward. "Go," they said, handing over a small device. "I'll hold them off." Before anyone could protest, they activated the device, releasing a burst of electromagnetic energy that short-circuited the enforcers' systems. The sacrifice bought the rest of the team precious seconds to escape. Yet by the time they reached the surface, the city was in chaos. Drones swarmed overhead, searching for intruders. Explosions echoed in the distance as the diversion team continued their assault. The resistance members emerged from the tunnel, battered but alive. They didn't stop to celebrate. Instead, they raced toward a safe house, counting down the seconds until the explosives detonated. When the timer hit 0, a deafening roar shook the ground. Flames erupted from the command hub, lighting up the night sky. For a moment, it felt like victory. The genetic rewriting core was gone. Humanity had struck a blow against the Valith, but the celebration was short-lived. As the dust settled, the teacher received a chilling transmission. The voice of the Valith leader echoed in their mind, cold and unshaken. "You cannot win," it said. "Your actions are futile. We are eternal. You are temporary." Despite the ominous warning, the resistance refused to give up. They had proven that humanity could fight back, that even against overwhelming odds, they could find ways to resist. By the end of Part 4, the battle has shifted. The Valith's plans have been delayed, but they're far from defeated. The resistance has shown courage and ingenuity, but the cost of their efforts is mounting. With tensions higher than ever, the stage is set for a final showdown, one that will determine the fate of Earth and all who call it home. The destruction of the genetic rewriting core was a monumental victory, but it didn't bring peace. If anything, it made the Valith angrier and more dangerous. Their calm demeanor shattered, replaced by an icy resolve to crush humanity once and for all. The resistance had struck a blow, but now they faced the full force of an alien empire determined to dominate Earth. In the days following the explosion, the Valith launched a series of devastating attacks. Cities burned under relentless assaults from their ships. Drones patrolled the skies, hunting down anyone suspected of involvement with the resistance. Governments that had previously cooperated with the aliens found themselves abandoned, left to fend for themselves as chaos consumed the planet. Yet amidst the destruction, something remarkable happened. Humanity began to unite, not because of leaders or treaties, but because ordinary people realized they shared a common enemy. Farmers armed themselves with whatever tools they could find. Engineers repurposed scrap metal into makeshift weapons. Families opened their homes to strangers fleeing the fighting. For the first time in history, humanity stood together, not divided by borders or beliefs, but bound by a single purpose: survival. The teacher, who had become a symbol of hope for the resistance, knew this unity wouldn't last forever. It was fragile, born out of desperation. To truly defeat the Valith, humanity needed one final push, a decisive act that would end the conflict once and for all. Intelligence gathered from defectors revealed the location of the Valith's central command ship, a massive vessel orbiting Earth. This ship wasn't just a base, it was the heart of their operations. From here, the aliens coordinated everything: their terraforming projects, their surveillance networks, their plans for humanity's subjugation. Destroying it would cripple their efforts. No human spacecraft could get close. No human spacecraft could get close without being detected and destroyed. Still, the resistance refused to give up. They poured every resource they had into crafting a plan, one so daring it bordered on madness. The idea came from an unlikely source: a group of scientists who had been studying Valith technology for reconnaissance. These ships were fast for reconnaissance. These ships were fast, agile, and capable of reaching the command ship undetected, if programmed correctly. The mission required volunteers willing to risk everything. Dozens stepped forward, but only a handful were chosen. Among them was the teacher, whose leadership and determination had inspired countless others to join the fight. On the eve of the operation, the team gathered in a hidden bunker deep beneath the ruins of a bombed-out city. Around them, engineers worked tirelessly to modify the stolen vessel, equipping it with explosives powerful enough to breach the command ship's hull. Maps and schematics covered the walls, outlining every step of the plan. "We're not coming back," the teacher said quietly, addressing the group. If we succeed, we'll have saved our species. If we fail, well, at least we'll have tried." No one argued. Each person understood the stakes. They weren't soldiers or heroes. They were teachers, farmers, mechanics, parents, all driven by love for their home and their fellow humans. The next morning, under the cover of darkness, the team boarded the vessel. As it lifted off, the ground crew watched silently, knowing they might never see their comrades again. Reaching the command ship was harrowing. The journey took hours, during which the team endured constant fear of discovery. At any moment, they expected alarms to blare or weapons to fire, but somehow they slipped through the defenses unnoticed. Once aboard the alien ship, the real challenge began. The interior was a labyrinth of corridors and chambers, filled with strange machinery and glowing panels. The air hummed with energy, making it hard to think clearly. Every step felt like walking into a trap. The team split up, each member tasked with disabling key systems to create distractions, while the teacher led a smaller group toward the control center. Along the way, they encountered Valith enforcers, tall, insect-like creatures with razor-sharp limbs and glowing eyes. Fights broke out, brutal and chaotic. Some members of the team fell, sacrificing themselves to ensure the mission continued. Finally, the teacher and their remaining companions reached the control center. Inside, where they found the Valeth leader, a towering figure cloaked in shimmering light. Its presence radiated power, yet there was something unsettling about it. Up close, it looked less like a conqueror and more like a machine, devoid of emotion or empathy. "You cannot stop us," the leader said, its voice echoing in their minds. "Your resistance is meaningless." For a moment, doubt crept in. The odds were overwhelming. How could a few humans possibly stand against such a force? When then the teacher remembered why they had started this fight in the first place, not for glory or revenge, but to protect the future. With renewed determination, they planted the explosives around the control center, setting timers to detonate in minutes. The Valeth leader watched impassively, as if confident it could survive the blast. "You misunderstand," it said. "We are eternal." "Maybe," the teacher replied, "but humanity isn't, and that's what makes us stronger." As the team fled, watch explosions rocked the ship. Alarms screamed and lights flickered wildly. The Valeth scrambled to regain control, but it was too late. The command ship began to collapse, its systems failing one by one. The team barely escaped, launching their vessel just as the command ship imploded in a brilliant flash of light. Below on Earth, people watched in awe as the massive structure disintegrated, raining debris across the sky. When the dust settled, the Valeth were gone, or their ships retreated into the void, leaving Earth scarred but free. In the aftermath, humanity faced the daunting task of rebuilding. Cities lay in ruins, economies were shattered, and millions mourned loved ones lost in the fight. Yet despite the devastation, there was hope. People had proven they could overcome even the greatest challenges when united by a shared cause. The teacher returned to their small town, resuming their quiet life. They didn't seek recognition or praise. The battle against the Valeth served as a reminder of the importance of standing up for what is right, even in the face of overwhelming odds. The battle against the Valeth served as a reminder of what humanity could achieve when it chose to stand together, not as individuals but as a species. By the end of Part 5, the story comes full circle. Humanity has reclaimed its freedom, not through superior technology or brute strength, but through courage, ingenuity, and unity. The scars of war remain, but so does the promise of a brighter tomorrow, a future shaped not by outsiders, but by the resilient spirit of those who call Earth home.